Have you ever heard the phrase paying lip service? It's a phrase we use when people or organisations say all the right things, but don't actually do them. Well, in today's podcast, we're going to look at 3 stories in the news which act as perfect examples of paying lip service. So this episode is very current as usual, things in the news. And it means you'll get plenty of practice with vocabulary that's relevant right now. And hopefully you'll remember the phrase paying lip service and plenty other phrases which I'll use. This podcast shows you the brilliant help that Adept English can give you if you're an intermediate English language learner. There's plenty more where this comes from. Listen on to find out. Vocabulary first of all. The phrase to pay lip service. It means to express support or agreement in words without taking the action to back it up. Your lips, L-I-P-S, are these, where you put your lipstick if you wear it. And the phrase lip service comes from the Christian religion in the 1600s, meaning prayers that people say out loud but don't really mean. They're never followed through. Another useful piece of vocabulary for this podcast, to mislead. That means to purposefully give someone a wrong impression. So let's start with a news story from Italy this week, which has become known as Pandoragate. This story involves Chiara Ferragni, one of Italy's biggest social media influencers, with 29 million followers on Instagram. And a Pandoro, as in Pandorogate, P-A-N-D-O-R-O, well, it means an Italian Christmas cake, sweet and fluffy. Really nice. Nothing wrong with cake at Christmas. And that gate on the end of Pandorogate, well, that's part of the popular tradition to add the word gate at the end of the name of any scandal. That's after President Richard Nixon's Watergate scandal in the early 1970s. So in 2022, Chiara Ferragni partnered with the Italian confectionery company Bellocco to sell a special pink Christmas Pandoro at more than double the usual cost. Twice the price, in other words. Now, that on its own isn't necessarily a problem. Branded products often cost more, and people have the choice whether to buy them or not. But here's the important bit. Ferragni and Bellocco led customers to believe that by buying this Pandoro, this cake, they would be donating funds to the Regina Margherita Children's Hospital in Turin, a wonderful cause supporting sick children who wouldn't want to help. Except, and this is where the lip service comes in reality, the only donation made was €50,000, which the company Bellocco made to the hospital 6 months before the Pandoro cake went on sale. And that was all that was paid. But Chiara Ferragni received €1 million from Bellocco. And Bellocco got to sell far more cakes and make far more profit. So when people were buying these overpriced Christmas cakes, they thought they were contributing to a children's hospital, but they weren't. Deceiving customers in this way, well, that's pretty low, isn't it? And in terms of the law, it's what we call aggravated fraud. Fraud, F-R-A-U-D, is a serious crime. It's when you make money by telling lies. Italy's authorities have already fined Ferragni €3.4 million. But this week, she was in court facing charges of aggravated fraud. I guess you could say this is an example of someone doing more wrong even than paying lip service. Chiara Ferragni also made the mistake that so many celebrities make when they're caught doing something wrong. She posted an apology on Instagram, citing communication errors. I think that what people particularly hate is when a celebrity has been caught doing wrong, but they still try to pull the wool over everyone's eyes instead of admitting it. That's another English phrase, to pull the wool over someone's eyes. Again, that word to mislead. That means to mislead people, to fool or deceive people. And that shows that Chiara Ferragni still doesn't really understand what she's done wrong. But there is another small matter under investigation, and that's the promotion of a separate Easter egg collaboration said to be in support of a children's autism charity. Oh dear. Moving on, let's go to our second example. And this one is closer to home for many of you. It's about workplace mental health. You've probably heard companies talk about how much they care about their employees' well-being. They hold mental health awareness days, wellness programs, even making meditation apps available to their employees for free. This messaging is everywhere, but the uncomfortable truth was revealed recently by statistics published by the UK's Health and Safety Executive. And I'm sure it's not just the UK where this is a problem. The statistics said that 964,000 workers in the UK, that's nearly 1 million, report depression and anxiety made worse by work stress in 2024-25. And these are just the reported cases. You can imagine how many people don't report it. And this isn't in the interests of business either. It's estimated that 22.1 million work days were lost because of this. And those numbers have doubled since records began in 2001. Companies talk about mental health much more than they used to, but the problem is actually getting worse. The main causes: workload pressures, too tight deadlines. A deadline is when there's a time by which you need to get something completed. That's a deadline. Simply too much work, too much pressure, too much responsibility, and not enough support from management. And there's also bullying and organisational restructuring. That's when an organisation changes everything in order to shed some jobs, get rid of people, if you like. I see all kinds of examples of this in my therapy practice, especially in these times when so many companies feel they need to cut the headcount. That means reduce the number of people working for them. Usually this happens because the companies themselves have made the mistake of over-recruiting. I know examples of people who were getting brilliant feedback about their work, and then suddenly they're put on the dreaded PIP, the Performance Improvement Plan. That's meant to be for underachievers, but many companies use it to get rid of people, to get people out of their jobs because they don't want to pay any money due. They don't want to pay redundancy. And in these situations where headcount gets reduced, there's often no less work. So the people left behind end up doing the jobs of 2 or 3 people. No wonder they're stressed. And statistics show that nearly 1.9 million workers in the UK reported suffering work-related illnesses in 2024. And this was mainly stress and anxiety. So when companies say they prioritise mental health, it does make you wonder what all those wellness programs are achieving, doesn't it? Perhaps this is more paying lip service. Now, if you're finding this helpful and you'd like more content like this to practice your English language with real-world topics, we have a brilliant subscription service. You get 8 extra audio episodes per month, 2 per week, completely ad-free. No advertising. Go to adeptenglish.com to check it out. You can start straight away. And we cover interesting topics like this to keep you listening while your brain learns some really good English language. Brilliant. Our third example is about something we call greenwashing. That's greenwashing, Green and washing. That's when companies misleadingly present themselves or their products as environmentally friendly when they're not. It's basically lip service to the environment. So stricter laws from the EU and the Competitions and Markets Authority have come in to protect customers from being misled. There's that verb to mislead again. A study discovered that 4 out of 10 international companies made deceptive environmental statements. That means statements that deceive people. So around 40% of UK businesses were found guilty of greenwashing in 2024. Examples of this? Unilever, a huge organisation which makes many cleaning products and toiletries. You may know some of them, like Lynx and Dove, for example. Well, Unilever is being investigated for greenwashing. On their packaging, green leaves and other symbols suggesting environmental friendliness were found on products which weren't green at all. And similarly, worldwide clothing company H&M were fined recently for misleading customers into thinking their clothes were more eco-conscious and environmentally friendly than they really were. Everyone's at it, it seems. Like putting a fresh coat of green paint onto a dirty wall. That's greenwashing. Things aren't always what they seem, are they? But with the right vocabulary and a critical eye, we can spot when someone's paying lip service to something. Now you know the phrase, you can call it out in English whenever you see it.